These pictures were taken on the way down because there was daylight then, but it gives you an idea of what the trail was like. You'll notice there's a rope. Sometimes you just use it to follow. Sometimes it had other, somewhat more important uses. There's only one way to describe the experience of reaching the summit. Frickin' freezing. This guy brought a blanket up with him. I hate this guy. Of course, after a long wait, we got to see a beautiful sunset. Actually, this was it. This was the nicest picture any of us got of it. But that is not to say there were not other moments of striking beauty. It had been a tiring trip up the mountain, and a punishing experience on our knees to head down. But our schedule and AirAsia dragged us on to Kuching in Sarawak. It turns out, transportation was a little complicated there. The only bit of advice we remembered from home was not to rent a car. But you know what they say about advice? They are meant to be broken. So we set out with a few friends from our hostel to see some caves. When we arrived at this particular location, we were greeted with this inviting sight. Not what I expected from a cave. And it goes up and up. But it turns out there actually is a cave up there at the top of it all. And a very cool one at that. You may notice a few staircases in this picture. Let me direct your attention towards the one on the left, leading towards the darkness. If you follow it, you come upon a very interesting sight. Follow this a bit longer, and you come out to a wooden platform in the middle of the jungle. One of our fellow travelers decided that he saw a path through the jungle, and he decided to follow that path. This was not atypical behavior for our friend Robin. Whenever there was some sort of cliff, he liked to get as close to it as possible. I followed him up this more or less vertical path for about 20 minutes before we reached the summit. Another wonderful view. We climbed back down and headed back for the other side of the cave. Here we found another cliff ledge, but at least this time there was a decent view. Leaving the caves, we headed to the longhouses, where we paid 5 ringgits each to look in on people's private homes. You might wonder to yourself, aren't these homes one blow from the big bad wolf away from falling down? Not to fear, this man is here. The government pays him every year to repair the floors. This would be akin to families being paid to live at Greenfield Village to attract tourists. That is kinda real, I guess. The next day, we headed over to the orangutan rehabilitation area. There, orangutans and crocodiles are nursed back to health. We got pretty close, so that was pretty cool. But if you really want to get up close and personal with the animals, then head to Baco. Hop on a boat and cruise down the river. Before you know it, you'll be surrounded by wildlife. You might even catch the rare proboscis monkey. And there are more opportunities to go trekking. And a few places where you can grab some shirtless leisure time atop a jutting rock. For the last leg of our trip, we headed back to Singapore. Here, you see the decoration on the wall of my hostel. You see, my friend Wei Wei's dad graciously offered to give us a real bed in a real home. The only problem with this was that some prankster had replaced all of the sweat-drenched clothing in my suitcase with what must have been several rotting animal carcasses. The smell was unbearable. So I did a quick sniff test of every article of clothing, removed the clothes I would need for the rest of the trip, and sealed my suitcase for the remainder. I'm sure that my plan worked. We hadn't hit up Sentosa yet, so we headed out that way to pick up another round of golf. This time, we played only the greens. Following our golfing improvement, we decided to head back to the beach. After all of our hard research, it was time for a break. Unfortunately, this paradise is a little superficial. While the rocks may not have been real, I soon discovered that the coconuts were. Of course, as a delegate of Harvard, I made sure to behave with the utmost propriety. Are these things supposed to be hard to open? Tom Hanks needs to man up. Through a lucky break, I was treated to a free business class upgrade on the flight back. This was probably one of the best experiences of my life. This was my personal 15-inch screen and my noise-canceling headphones. The seat was fully adjustable and even turned into a bed. I watched great movies in a super comfortable chair while beautiful women served me delicious food for 12 hours. The only thing I was not allowed to do was go up the party staircase. What magical land lies up there? Maybe I'll find out the next time I fly Cathay Pacific.